dark ambition, silent calculations, and a hunger for absolute control. This is where the story truly begins. Welcome to Xfinity Evolution, where history comes alive and legends are reborn. Griselda Blanco wasn't shaped by chance. She was forged by circumstances most people could never survive. Born into extreme poverty in Colombia, her childhood was filled with chaos, danger, and survival instincts. There was no safety net, no guidance, only the harsh reality of the streets. And the streets taught her everything. By the time most children were learning right from wrong, Griselda had already crossed lines that many wouldn't even imagine. Crime wasn't something she stepped into later. It was something she grew up inside. That early exposure didn't just harden her, it sharpened her. She learned quickly, fear controls people, and power controls fear. As she stepped into adulthood, her mindset was already different from everyone around her. She didn't think like a follower. She didn't settle for small opportunities. She wanted dominance, complete and unquestioned. That ambition led her straight into the rising cocaine trade. During the 1970s, the drug business was expanding rapidly, especially between Colombia and the United States. While others saw risk, Griselda saw structure. While others chased profit, she designed systems. She wasn't just a trafficker, she was an architect of an empire. When she moved her operations toward Miami, everything changed. The city became the perfect hub, wealthy, fast-growing, and unprepared for the storm that was coming. Under her command, massive quantities of cocaine began flowing into the U.S. Money poured in at an unbelievable rate. But what made her truly dangerous wasn't just the scale, it was the precision. She introduced highly organized distribution networks. She studied routes, timing, human behavior. Every move had purpose. Every risk was calculated. Law enforcement struggled to keep up because she was always one step ahead. Her creativity in smuggling became legendary. Hidden compartments in everyday items, specially designed clothing, and unsuspecting couriers used as transport. She turned ordinary objects into tools of crime. What seemed invisible to others became her greatest weapon. And as her empire expanded, so did her reputation. Not just as a leader, but as a nightmare. Griselda Blanco ruled with absolute authority. There was no room for mistakes. No space for betrayal. Loyalty wasn't earned, it was enforced. And fear was her language. It's believed that she was responsible for hundreds of killings. Some ordered from a distance, others carried out with terrifying efficiency by her loyal hitmen. Violence wasn't the last option, it was a strategy. One of her most chilling contributions to crime was the normalization of motorcycle assassinations. Quick, efficient, and nearly impossible to trace at the time. This method spread fear across Miami and became a symbol of her influence. The city itself began to transform. Miami in the late 70s and early 80s became a war zone. Public shootouts, targeted killings, and constant tension turned everyday life into a risk. The media reported chaos. Authorities scrambled for control, and behind it all was a silent force pulling the strings. A woman, commanding an empire built on fear. Her nickname, Black Widow, wasn't just symbolic, it was real. Like the spider, she eliminated even those closest to her. Husbands, partners, allies, anyone who became a liability was removed. Relationships were temporary. Power was permanent. At the peak of her reign, she had everything: money, influence, control. But with that level of dominance comes exposure. The more powerful she became, the more attention she attracted. Law enforcement agencies, including U.S. authorities, began focusing heavily on dismantling her network. Investigations deepened. Informants surfaced. Pressure increased from every side. And slowly, the cracks began to show. Her empire, once untouchable, started weakening. Arrests disrupted her operations. Trust within her circle began to collapse. The same fear she used to control others started surrounding her. Eventually, the inevitable happened. She was captured. The woman who once controlled millions of dollars worth of cocaine now faced the reality of prison walls. Her empire didn't collapse overnight, but its heart was gone. Still, her influence refused to die. Even behind bars, her name carried weight. Stories about her continued to spread, some exaggerated, some real, but all powerful. She became a legend in the underworld, a figure people feared and talked about in whispers. Years later, after serving time, she was deported back to Colombia. For the first time in decades, there was silence. No headlines. No chaos. No empire. Just a woman, returning to where it all began. But a life built on violence rarely allows a peaceful ending. In 2012, that silence was shattered. Griselda Blanco was assassinated outside a small shop. Shot in a method eerily similar to the ones she had once made famous. It wasn't random. It wasn't unexpected. It was almost inevitable. Her death felt like a final chapter written by the same rules she lived by. Fast. Sudden. Merciless. And just like that, the queen of cocaine was gone. But her story didn't disappear. It evolved into something bigger, a legacy of power, fear, and ambition pushed beyond limits. Griselda Blanco wasn't just part of the drug trade. She reshaped it. She proved that intelligence, when combined with ruthlessness, can build empires. But she also proved something else. That empires built on fear eventually fall to it. In the end, she didn't just control darkness. She became it. If you want to understand how history is unfolding before our eyes, don't miss what comes next. Revisit Xfinity Evolution for deeper insights and powerful stories. Stay informed, stay curious, and join us again on Xfinity Evolution, where the world's biggest events come into focus.